local recording. Okay, so I've been looking through some of the apps that I end up using for different things. And I thought I'd go through these because it's been a little while since I've actually had to go through some of them. Malwarebytes is always classic, so definitely get Malwarebytes if you can afford it. Sorry, just checking notifications. Some of these other ones that I've downloaded and ended up not using, but most of these apps I do use. There is rarely an app that I don't use. Tor browser is not too bad for, you know, having a look at stuff and everything else. Heaven Benchmark's pretty good. Word and Microsoft Excel and things like that, especially if you're doing business type stuff and that related stuff. OnView, which I go on that chat service occasionally. I haven't been on there for a while, but it's normally pretty fun. Well, it is. It can be fun. It can be fun when you go on there and just chat to random people. Now, IDA64, which I haven't renewed the license for a while, is another one too. Basically, with this one, it gives you a summary of the motherboard, tells you what operating system you've got, it tells you everything you've got on there. Obviously, I need to renew the license on that, but I haven't done that for a while. You can do a stability test, which stresses the system and stresses the GPUs and everything else and stresses everything out, so it double checks everything's working properly. That's not too bad in that sense. Like, you got DirectX as well. You can check everything basically, and you can benchmark. Another thing too, Crystal Disk Info, I think it was, yes. Crystal Disk Info, which basically tells you what's going on with your drives. Now, I've got one drive there which obviously is in the process of not failing, but it's in the process of, it could be failing, I'm not sure. That's the problem. I have to get a new power supply for this computer, to be honest. So that's something that I have to do at the moment. Let me just go to the other screen for a second. I just want to see what they've got on eBay. I just want to see what drives they've got. So that's the thing. It tells you read and write errors. It gives you all your accuracy. It gives you the accuracy for everything else. It tells you what's basically what's going on with these drives. Now, most of this stuff is pretty easy to follow, but not just that. I mean, yeah, it depends anyway. My point is, it's basically just for keeping an eye on things and keeping an eye on all your stuff. So this is good. It's also got some functional testing stuff in there as well. It tells you the temperature of the drives. Also, a Crystal Disk Mark, which gives you an estimation on what your drives are. It gives you an estimation on the speed and stuff like that. Sequential write speeds and stuff like that, and things of that nature. Great program to have. Always handy. Now, aside from that, I just want to see. This we're just going to have a quick look on eBay and see how much a 4 terabyte drive is. I'm just having a look to see how much a 4 terabyte drive is going to set me at. 779. Okay, alright. Probably not. I'll probably get one later. I just wanted to see how much a 4 terabyte drive is going to set me back. Deciding whether I want to get one or not. I'll probably do it later. Alright. Okay, so you got sequential write speeds, everything else. Got disk info, Power ISO, which is great for like loading up some ISOs and stuff and things that you may muck around with in the ISO state. What else have we got? XSplit, which I use XSplit as my main broadcaster when I'm streaming and stuff like that. VLC player, which is great for playing media files, especially if you're getting files from different sites and stuff. What else is there? Trillion, which is my messaging service, and it's linked into Twitter and everything else and things like that, things of that nature. Neuro 2016, which has got video editing tools and everything else. I've also got Power Director, which is Power Director 4, which is my video editing tool. Also got some Heaven and Valley benchmarks, just in case, just to double check things. At the moment, I'm waiting on a power supply to arrive. So, where is it? If I can get it to work. Basically, what I chose. eBay. What I chose for the power supply. Or my new power supply. Sorry, a friend just messaging me. So this is what I chose to get for the power supply, an RM1000X, which is not a bad power supply to be honest, and it has pretty good capacity in it, Japanese ones. 80 plus gold certified, so that's a plus side. What else? Ultra low noise, so it's good for, you know, very low noise production, especially when if you're drawing a lot of power from it, which my computer would, because I've got a lot of stuff. I've got a lot of stuff in my rig. 0 RPM mode, 10-year warranty, which is always great. And a bunch of cables and everything else to be able to plug everything in and make sure that you've got everything in. And it's modular as well. Modular is a plus side, especially when you're building a PC these days. Now, as you can see, it's designed for Skylake, it's designed for Intel, AMD motherboards. It's designed for all the different types of processors and stuff. And, yeah, no, it's pretty good. What else we got? Circuit protection, over power protection, over temperature protection, all the usual bits and pieces that you throw into a power supply like this. It's an ATI power supply, it's an ATX power supply, ATI, ATX power supply. It's got everything you basically need. Now, aside from that, it's also got it's been tested for efficiency, and the efficiency reaches up very high. Efficiency always reaches very high with these particular types of power supplies, and they are reliable. So I'm currently waiting on that to be delivered at the moment. Now that should arrive next week sometime, I'm hoping. Hopefully it should arrive next week sometime, and I can get back into a bit more into streaming, because at the moment I'm having random shutdown problems and a couple of random issues that I think are related to my power supply. Now, what other programs do I use? I mean, aside from that, I also use, I mean, there's a lot of different things that I've used over the years for different reasons. Basically, some of these programs are designed to boot into a different OS, or they're designed to do certain things. I also recommend this program, which I bought a copy of, which is Fences. Fences is a fantastic program. It organizes all your icons and everything else, as you can see. Got all my icons organized into the areas I want them in. And basically it's... shit, where is it? Ah. There we go. But basically most of these programs I use. I've rarely had a program where I don't use it. But yeah, all these programs are pretty much up on the run, like in the sense of, like, you know, being able to super anti-spyware as well. Great for getting rid of viruses and trojans and stuff like that. Malwarebytes, which is great as well. And of course, I use ESET for my antivirus. I use ESET's Smart Security, which is pretty good. What else? DVD Fab 4, which is just, you know, for ripping DVDs and stuff like that and things of that nature. Handbrake, which is for compressing video files and stuff like that, especially if you want to do on-the-fly stuff with video conversions and stuff over to YouTube and things like that. What else? There's a ton of stuff. Also, my game capture software, which is my Elgato. I've got Discord on here, which I've currently got my own Discord now, if anybody didn't know. But basically, these are the bunch of programs that I use, and I mix it between using different ones, but I tend to use the same ones. OBS, I haven't really used that much. I've got to use it a little more just to get used to it and sort of muck around with it a little more. I know how to sort of set it up, but I don't know how to set it up completely. Image burn, which is basically, you know, creating images or ISO files, which is great, fantastic for stuff like that. TorGuard, which is my VPN. I recommend TorGuard because I use that pretty regularly. What else is there? Well, I've got some Paragon recovery software, or Paragon backup software, which is for backing up and moving things over back and forth from drives, it's great for doing that. To be honest, I haven't had any problems with it. Most of the time, if you've got 2 new drives, it's pretty good for doing that. Defraggler, which I've used on a regular basis, it's not too bad as well. Now, these are most of these programs. I use TeamViewer 12 as well to do remote access to some people's systems if they need me to help them out and things like that. I don't use it commercially, but I use it just to help them out if there's any problems. Now, Tor, which I've started using as well. Well, I didn't start using it, I've been using it for quite a while. What else we got? Grammarly, which is a great little program as well. That's a great program for spelling errors and things like that, and you may make when you're doing a lot of this stuff, when you're doing computer-based stuff. And Hardware Monitor. Now, Hardware Monitor is great, I find. It's probably going to ask me to update. Oh, 1 second. We have to download the latest file for that one. But yeah, basically these are some of the programs that I get up to. Let me just install the latest version of that. But yeah, things like that. Hardware Monitor, Ada64. What else is there? Thunderbird, which I do use for some of my emails and stuff. Which, to be honest, I haven't checked those for a while, so I might open that up. Move that over. So I'm thinking about getting a new bed at this point, and I'm sort of looking into different beds. I'm not sure if I'm going to go locally or what. Chrome keeps signing me out. I'm gonna love that. So what else? Basically that's pretty much a recommendation I give in that sense. Now, recommendations. Like I don't know. I've always got a lot of recommendations. I've got a Razer microphone which I've found pretty good so far. I bought it a while back and I haven't had any major issues with it. Aside from some issues where it's not lost to USB connectivity, but I think that's the power supply, because randomly things will disconnect, and I'm guessing it's power supply because I've been having problems with shutdown as well. Now, aside from that, well, it's been pretty good otherwise. I think most of these programs that I use, they all come in handy for some purpose or another. Basically, I use them every day of my life. Well, pretty much every day. Rarely do I find that I don't use them. So most of these programs have some benefit to having them on my computer. GIMP included. I don't really do much photo editing because that's not really something I do, but GIMP is something I just have around just in case. What else we got? 2016. But Neuro 2016 double repeats of some of these icons. I knew that would happen. Figures. But this is a recovery tool, Riva or Recoverer, which is basically a by the people who make CC Cleaner, which CC Cleaner I'm using as well. I find it very beneficial to run it across the computer, just to clean up any excess and things like that. And it's going to close all my browsers now. No. I find it very beneficial because you can clear a lot of stuff and extra crap and stuff out that you don't need anymore. As well as that, you can clear out DUD registry entries and DLL files and stuff like that. It's pretty good for that stuff. So, what else we got? No. Removed, perfect. I also have to change the battery in my NBN, which I think I'll do a video on that as well. I'll do a video on that, how to change the backup battery on your NBN, because there is a couple of videos out there, but I still want to do a video on it anyway, because you know it's something that's come up since I got the NBN. I got fibre to the premises, so. What else we got? Well, there's a fair few things around there. There's a fair few bits and pieces. Now, aside from that, which is the standard programs that you use, there's a few other programs as well. There's a little crash. Why did it crash? Restart. Why did that crash? It's randomly crashing. Why did you crash? Don't crash. I don't need you to crash. I need a cup of coffee, to be honest. Alright. It is fairly hot here today. Retry your password. Oh, okay. Never mind. Aside from that, what else? What other programs do I use? I do use Spotify. I do have Spotify, which I listen to music with. It should be pinned down the bottom, but it's not. Pinned to taskbar. There we go. But I'm hoping, well, I'm pretty sure that it's going to sort some of the issues out that I have been having occasionally with with power and dropping USB items and things like that. I've come down to diagnostic work that I've been examining my PC for the last few weeks, looking at some of the things that it does. What it does is it doesn't shut down properly. It'll go to restart and it won't boot back up again. So I'm going with the power supply issue at this point. I can shut it down fine. That's not the problem. I can shut it down and it'll shut down. But when it comes to rebooting and booting up properly and everything else, and it's basically some power issues. So it's power issues that I'm having. It's also random intermittent freezing and stuff like that, and things that have been happening every so often, which have been giving me the shits, to be honest. I've kind of been getting the shits with them. And on top of that, it doesn't help if you've got a streaming rig like this. Those things can really halt and hinder a lot of the things you do. Let's close that. So the things I would recommend, if you're going to do streaming or anything like that, which that's what I'm sort of getting into now, and I haven't been doing it as much. I'm making more out of selling people machines, to be honest, at this point in time. But I've got another issue, which is that the partner I had with YouTube is being fobbed off, which, to be honest, I have to meet requirements now if I want to get back into it, which I'm sort of I understand, but it still pisses me off that that was the case. It's not a problem anyway. For the moment, I've gathered a few more subscribers, so that's a plus side. Basically, any of these apps and stuff and things that I use, they're all for a purpose. And then the Streamlabs chatbot, which is good. I've also been using Nightbot as well as a computerized admin on some of my channels and stuff like that, especially for stuff like Twitch and things like that. I'm far from perfect though. I mean, excuse me. So if anybody's interested in what type of router I have a Archer C9, which basically is, I'll show you them. I'll show you what it actually looks like. Which is a dual core router. Move some of my stuff around. Hold on a second. Just need to move a couple of things. Have a look. That's the router right there. See it, but it's not a bad little router. It's dual core and it does pretty well for most things that I do, and the internet speed's not too bad considering my internet speed that I actually get is I'll actually show you the internet speed that I end up getting. I'm really going to link to it here. I really need to clean these glasses. Alright, so my internet speed's actually pretty good considering. It's not too bad. I mean, it's not perfect, but, you know, I change my IP pretty regularly. On top of that, so yeah. So, considering that most people, like, this is fibre to the premises, most of the time I'll get upwards of 90. In rare cases, it'll go back down to a lower number, but normally my numbers are pretty good and it stays with a pretty even keel. So yeah, that's my internet speed anyway. Now aside from that, what else do I do? QBitTorrent is a good torrenting program if you're going to use anything. I don't like uTorrent because it's very bloated. It's got a lot of crap in it. It's got a lot of excess stuff and everything else and just doesn't work very well. I find, as a personal experience. Right, what else? IMVU. I mean, pretty much all these programs are right here. And then Spyware Anti-Beacon, which is something you can use to disable some of the stuff in Windows 10. It's telemetry stuff in Windows 10. Just wondering. Check for updates. I'm just wondering if there's any updates required for this at the moment. No, nothing. You have the newest version. It's just some telemetry stuff and things like that that I don't really like, so I just basically use that to disable it. Aside from that, what else? Basically this is all the type of stuff I use. Then I got the Heaven benchmark and I got the Valley benchmark, which is always handy. And yeah, no, my computer's pretty on par with most things. I mean, I still have occasional problems these days with some things, but that's mostly to do with just well, I think it's my PSU at the moment that's the problem. So figures we get an update. Does that work? Yeah, it did. Okay. So that's pretty much, yeah, AMD FX processor. The specs of my machine, pretty much everybody knows this by now because I mean I put the specs of my machine all over the place. Is an AMD FX 9590 8 core 4.72 gigahertz. 32 gigabytes of memory or RAM. So pretty much, yeah, pretty much on par with what you'd expect. There's my speed test. There's my new power supply, which I'm currently in the process of getting at the moment. Which, God, it's hot here. Which I'm in the process of buying. Which I'm in the process of. Pretty much at this point, I'm in the process of getting it. I'm in the process of getting it, but. It's all good. I'm in the process of getting it, so we'll see how it goes. So pretty much all my software and everything else relates to each other. It all works, it all functions. The router that I ended up getting is this one. It's the Archer C9. It's a dual core processor built into it. Has some pretty good features. Pretty nice. Links into a few things. It's always good though, but wireless video, wireless router, Archer C9. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good router. I'm pretty happy with it. Just log out of that. It's logged out, man. It's logged out. Oh, God, it's hot. So, yeah, pretty much that. All that stuff is pretty much all the software and stuff that I use for YouTube and other things that I want to do. It's not just YouTube production, it's other stuff as well. My drives, obviously. But yeah, pretty much all this software I use. So all this software I use, and I know how to muck around with it. I know how to work it. Most of it's, just rarely do I have any problem. Well, occasionally I have problems with XSplit, but I think XSplit is related to other problems I've been having with my PC at the moment, which is related to my power supply. At this point, so I'm pretty sure it's my power supply that's the issue. So I'm going to leave it anyway for now, and it's pretty much me just doing a local recording. Just, well, this is a local recording anyway, but normally I'd be chatting to people online, but I'm not. I'm just doing basically me some desktop stuff and just showing you some of the stuff that I get up to.